see now with off and started. No funny business actually from either team so far in terms of invades.
Both teams are looking for a defensive line out throughout the map. No one pushing up past the river. Maybe Sign just looking just a bit above, but everyone seems to make a defensive line between their jungles. I don't think they want to look for a fight yet, especially IG.
IG
IG
doesn't have items actually.
Oh.
And neither does Cho'Gath. Is that a spectator bug, or are they kind of into?
They just not have items. Maybe they just
might be a 5-head play where they go back and get
keeping their money to later on. Is the long run.
Yeah,
a completely new strat I've never seen before, but we'll take it. Very confusing. I don't know. Okay. Well, maybe they're holding on to that gold for a rainy day. We'll see if. See here now.
Their days are about to be very cold, wet, and miserable. In these laning phases, in lanes that are already slanted against them, they have this lack of stats that back them up. I don't know if they still haven't noticed or if they're just consigned to their fate. But we'll have to wait and see. Particularly interesting, I think something that can be really important are these jungle paths in the opening stages. Lee Sin, we can see doing that red buff going straight into the top side of his map, trying to prevent any chance of Graves forcing him into a vertical jungling scenario, and actually could favour the Lee Sin quite well, but he opted not to go for
it. Here we are down bot lane with a bit of poke coming from the Caitlyn. Oh, we're back.
So Lulu in these very early levels, really making life difficult for the Orianna. Orianna's going to be needing to make use of that range from Q. Just spam out the Q, don't necessarily press W because it's a lot of mana. Just continuously poke with Q, stay out of range of Lulu's abilities, and that's how you're going to put the hurt down on her. If you're stepping forward into an auto-attack range, you're going to get out-traded from 100% of the time, 3-6.
Up here in the top lane, just a bit of poke from the Cho'Gath coming onto the Scion. That's a lot of poke coming from a no-item Cho'Gath right there.
A lot of damage. I think a lot of minion damage too, though, onto that Scion. But Vorpa perhaps not quite as favourable as it could have been. We like to see this though, the knock up from Say into the slow from that E. Rip Kang now into the top lane, going to be looking to land that Q. Instead, hops forward with the E, lands it. First blood goes over to Lee Sin. This is exactly what we wanted to see in the opening stage of this game, and I wouldn't be surprised if Lee Sin stuck around here after doing that scuttle grab to kill Vorpa again when he teleports back to lane.
That was a lovely gank from that Lee Sin. As like we were saying in pre-game lobby, the show here from Lee Sin is to go topside because Cho'Gath will not have an easy way out. It's a long lane. And it stops himself from not getting ganked, really. If there isn't a ward, if there isn't any deep wards before Lee Sin is being seen, and as Charles said, Lee Sin seems to be sitting around top, waiting for the Cho'Gath to come back.
Good poke, actually, landing onto the Caitlyn, followed up by the Jin W, who goes forward, gets that chunk down. White Rice going to put the damage down onto Crossfire, but instead, Duangle takes the hit from Bubba T and Crossfire. I think that was a pretty favourable trade, though, for THCE. White Rice holds on to that boss at full HP, and now actually 1 versus 1 in the top lane. Specific, looking to trade back on the bot side of the map. Root goes down on both targets now. One more also from Bubba T, should secure that kill, and does. Shugil escapes with his life, avoiding that hook very narrowly. I'd like to draw attention to the fact that Vorpa actually didn't use his teleport. The wave was in a really bad place for him, and had he used it, he surely would have died to Lee Sin. Instead, he walked back to lane. Lee Sin lost patience and backs, and instead, Vorpa gets to shove this lane in and probably fix most of the troubles he could have come into in that 1 versus 1 matchup.
Very good decision making from Vorpa there. Yes, we could see that Lee Sin was sitting at Tribush waiting for the Cho'Gath to TP in, but Vorpa seemed to wait it out, and yes, Lee Sin left. Very beautiful gank from Graves there. Like we were saying, it was going to be a safe lane for both Caitlyn and Thresh here, but it seems they were able to make a really good play down there. Really nice flay coming onto the Jhin. Nice traps coming from Caitlyn, and then that's what got them kills there.
Yeah, Graves taking a really favourable path there, not picked up on any vision prior to the gank, and ultimately that was the downfall of White Rice and Doongal, because I think they'll feel pretty annoyed that they didn't catch the Grave out on vision beforehand with a Warden try. Instead, they get punished for it. White Rice, though, still has both heal and flash, so potentially could have survived, but
I guess he wanted
that,
to keep his summons. Yeah,
isn't
I
gonna
guess he
be any
wanted to
weaker.
keep his summoners coming up for maybe the next few times Graves might come down bot lane, because I'm guessing now that Graves came down bot lane, gave a bit of a lead to Caitlyn, he might want to look more towards bot side. They have Lee Sin has start dragon. They're looking for a bot side. Oh, everyone seems to be running in.
Really difficult position for the side of THCE as Flash thrashes forward, hits that hook onto the side of THCE as White Rice now going to fall. Lulu picks up the kill onto the Nautilus, and that's the only real discrepancy as the double kill goes down to Graves, who will surely be looking to explode out the gates after that next back. Drake down over to IG. First skirmish in their pocket as well, and they're looking really scary going into the next 5 or so minutes of this game.
That completely takes away Graves needing to power farm even more now. Graves is now 2 kills ahead. He's now a dragon ahead. He's going to get more stuff. He's now invading blue side jungle, bot side jungle. With
Prash. Trouble here as the ultimate comes through. Vorpa, one more also should secure it, and the double flash in the top lane going to end with Cho'Gath being slain. Big CS lead for the Scion here, but Vorpa does have that TP which he saved from earlier, going to perhaps recuperate some of those minions. But yeah, generally speaking, pretty difficult situation for him as Rip Kang now in a pretty awkward spot, trying to take his red buff, gets a smite for some HP, and now looks for his escape. Ward hops over the wall. Q and both Qs going to miss the hook. And the snipe from Bubba T not going to pick out the Lee Sin there as he escapes with his lives, but does lose his red buff for his troubles.
Lovely escape, but I would like to say that Lee Sin is level 4 while Graves is level 6. So that huge play down bot lane by IG has really pushed them forward.
Yeah, IG looking pretty scary across the map here. We can see in that mid lane a CS deficit for the Lulu as expected, but she's been a part of so many, or I should say one crucial skirmish win that actually has put the gold pretty much in her favour, about 200. She's on 2,800, Oriana on 2,600, meaning Lulu's sitting pretty in this lane so far. And their only real outlet for THCE is in this top lane, which we can see here, say, taking it. Unfavourable trade.
Vorpa fighting really well, waiting for Sion Q to start channeling to then silence him to mitigate that damage from Q, meaning a free trade towards Vorpa. Even if he is a level down, he seems to be skirting around these Qs very easily, silencing him when needed, and knocking him up quite well. So that CS discrepancy is okay in the sense that maybe Vorpa can get a kill here.
Ultimate is coming off cooldown, but I don't know if it'll be up in time. Probably will, actually. The knock-up not going to come through. One more tower shot might be enough with the minions, and it is. Meanwhile, though, Rip Kang has been on the way to help out his top laner. Narrowly escapes from Pacific and Crossfire. I was just thinking that while we see Vorpa getting the better of the Scion in those engagements, Scion actually had a fair amount of money to spend. He's going to come back with this teleport, get all those minions under his tower, and so I assume so, yes, which is going to put him level on experience, if not ahead on experience of Vorpa, and with a significant item advantage.
Very good from Rip King, though. Well, I'd say if Cho'Gath had not been killed by the tower there, Rip King would have had a bit more gold, but obviously Vorpa played a bit closely to the tower and died with the Scion just on its own. So that means that Scion got the gold on his own. It's a good back.
Cancelled by Scion. This is going to result in a really favourable trade for Vorpa. As Crossfire on the way as well, and flying backwards, looking for the hook. There's so many minions going to make it so difficult for him. Ignite ticking down, making Sion's life even more difficult as they continue to block that ultimate path to escape. Not granted by Crossfire. He plays that very well from start to finish, and Sion unable to really do anything there.
Lovely pathing from Crossfire there. Sticking around top. They look like they might be heralding top lane. Oh no, they might just save it for now. Oh no, they are. I was right.
In its entirety, Herald. And
very good map play from IG here. lot of things happening, everywhere. Top lane, a lot of kills. Bot lane, obviously getting Dragon, full man roam from IG, getting that Dragon secured early, and now here we are with Pacific taking more things from Lee Sin, while Lee Sin tries to take back with the blue buff on the red side.
Yeah, speaking of Dragon, we can see it spawning about 50 seconds with that Rift Herald in the top lane. I think Cho'Gath will probably continue to escort that. Meanwhile, Graves looking to get that back off reset challenge for the Drake. Crossfire could be in trouble here. Q and ult landing there from the mid laner and jungle respectively. Crossfire going to be rescued by the Lulu though. Those shields, their ultimate, keeping him alive, but that's a pretty important ultimate burnt on the side of IG in the upcoming race for Drake. And
beautiful disengage there from Crossfire and Crazy Boy. Yes, you're right. With Orianna's ultimate down for the next 120 seconds or so, 110, that means it might not be up for the next Dragon fight, which is going to be a huge loss towards THCE. Oh, I think Graves might have been caught out here.
Yeah, and then the kick going to disengage, but they've bit enough more than they can choose. Bubba C rotates very well instead of taking the wave like I would have done as an AD carry. Yeah, the ultimate coming through, going to bring down the Nautilus now, able to attack, pops that Ghost to stay alive, and actually I hadn't noticed that spell. Phase Rush and Ghost on Orianna, who can already speed herself up with W. That's a pretty nifty mid laner.
Very fast and very defensive.
Very fast, very defensive. Maybe an early Banshee's Veil just to top it all off. And actually, Jhin could be in serious danger of a dive here. You can see Bubba T trying to shove this wave as quickly as she can, but Graves just going to channel that back, and I think that's probably the best decision for them. IG so far, a firm grip on the game, I would say.
Definitely. Everywhere seems to be winning with a certain lead. Jungle, 2 levels up again from IG side. Bot lane with a very around 10 or so CS above, but it's looking very strong. It's looking very favorable towards IG at the moment. Even in the mid lane, obviously Lulu's not a lot of poke coming from Lulu. Not really. Well, you would have thought so, but very good supporting also coming from the mid laner towards other sides of the map.
See Graves being really aggressive with those pings, looking to get all the camps he can from Graves. He forced out off his jungle. Thorper pops the is that Chem Tank? Yeah, Turbo Chem Tank to rush at him. Probably scared him a fair bit, but Lee Sin does just get away without too much hassle. With no objectives to fight for, I think this is just going to be a case of IG continuing to dominate these side lanes, continuing to farm up a storm and increase their gold lead in whatever small way they can. Because if I'm the side of THCE, I do not want to fight right now. Actually, Pacific, it might force them to fight looking for this red buff. It doesn't look like THCE are going to accept this. It's ultimately going to come through from White Rice. Now, Dingle brought so low, but survives for the time being. Lee Sin picks up that red buff, and they win this engagement for the time being.
A lot of damage coming out from that Graves. You can tell that Nautilus, he's not meant to be squishy, but he took a lot of damage. Obviously, it was from the Caitlyn there too, but I'd like to highlight that it was with the Lulu, and as we were saying, the Lulu's there to just give attack speed, give shields, give health towards the carries, and there we go. The attack speed very much helped.
Actually, human a miss from Vorpin with a level advantage. Simon might look to fight this. It takes a lot of damage though to get nicked by another knock-up from Vorpo, and you can see the excitement of tanks trading there.
Very wet noodle fight right there.
Yeah. Slapping each other with some sardines, not having too much impact.
Giving a few emotes there and there, just to keep it all spicy.
You see Graves, obviously 3-0 and 2 with a massive farm lead over that Lee Sin. I'm not sure this even warrants casting, to be honest. Actually, maybe, is the knock-up going to come through on both targets at once? Silence just going to retreat onto his turret.
Still wet noodle fighting. Silences, knockups, just not really doing much to each other.
Oh, the hook not going to land onto White Rice, who actually stopped moving because I guess he thought it hit him. Fortunately for the Jhin, it didn't, and he survives to tell another tale, another day. Pacific now going to be insected by Rip Kang, who uses the blast gun to get closer, gets his autos down, looking for the final kill, gifts it over to Orianna. Absolutely the right decision as a shutdown goes over. Now Vorpa flashing forward with that E, noms down his opposing top laner. Rip Kang could be in trouble here, but with Sion helping out, perhaps not. Rip Kang lands that Q, gets the autos, looking for the E to finish him off perhaps. And actually, This is so strange. He didn't kill him. Going in now, Vorpa. Vorpa gets a kill on Lee Sin, who doesn't get that final auto onto Vorpa, loses his nerve, or perhaps miscalculates his damage as Vorpa survives with a sliver of HP, only to take down Rip Kang as he goes back in for that second bout. Well played by Vorpa.
Very well played from Vorpa, giving that little thumbs up after killing both top laner and jungler. But I would like to say that Rip Kang played that very well against Pacific. Level down, but walking around the autos, definitely trying to get as much damage through, and then giving that kill to Orianna. So good from Rip Kang there. Orianna is going to be there to give that huge ultimate later on. And yes, Graves seems to be very aggressive. He's allowed to, I'd say, giving that blue buff to Lulu there, but obviously he's in a lead. I don't know how far now that obviously Graves has been killed by Orianna and Lee Sin there, but very aggressive play coming from Graves here and there.
Yeah, and before that fight started off, I was going to talk about the gold lead that Graves had. It was over 2,000 gold over Lee Sin at the time. Now it's just shy of 2,000, about 1,900, but still a gigantic amount. And it's where most of the discrepancy I'm seeing in these lanes actually take place. This Lee Sin really going to be looking to catch up wherever he can, but on the champion of Lee Sin, it's always a real uphill struggle when you're behind the opposing jungler, especially a Graves who can farm so well. So I think Lee Sin, he's probably just going to be converted into a walking kick pretty soon, particularly after what we saw in that top lane. So just because he's not going to be able to catch up on the damage front or on the tankiness front, which means we're going to be looking more and more at Orianna to carry these games. There's actually Aiden in the tank, going to flash away there. Not going to have that for the upcoming potential dragon fight, but you can see on the bot side, Lee Sin and Jin positioning themselves favourably. You could see a flank from them as the side engages. In general,
Crossfire.
A fight for THCE is really risky here.
Crossfire doing a really well. Good job trying to get that sign away from the top side, but I think they're going to do a bit of a dragon dance here.
Orianna looking to land a shockwave. You can tell by her movement, and IG, they're going to be really cautious of that, but right now they're kind of being funneled into that entrance into River. It's actually Rip Kang going to look for the insect, gets the flash from Crazy Boy as a hook lands onto the Cho'Gath. Now Crossfire flays away the Scion as Vorpa brings down the support for THCE. Now Rip Kang ultimately going to knock him up from the Lulu. Sath looking for the knock up onto his opposing top laner as White Rice now brings down the Lulu, brings down the Fresh, looks for more, brings down no one as the triple kill comes from Graves. The shotgun of doom shredding through every single one of those members. A quadra kill in the end as Pacific in the blink of an eye takes down 3 members almost simultaneously. Jin, he did so well to try and look to turn that fight, but his front line gave up before the side of IG's did, and it came back to bite him.
It was a very seesaw fight, but it started off very well. It looked very well for THCE. They nearly caught out the Graves, but then there we had it with Lulu pressing ult on Graves. Graves getting a bunch of health back, getting that shield, getting that attack speed, and then just destroying Lee Sin there. Very sad for Lee Sin there, trying to catch out the Graves. But very good fight from IG there with the Caitlyn staying alive after that. Jin trying very hard to get that last kill, and here we are with IG now on Dragon Point. So a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it was a really difficult situation for THCE. They'd be hard-pressed to win even a favourable team fight, but we saw there it started with the Lulu flashing away from Lee Sin. He didn't get the insect he needed. He was in an awkward position. Then Cho'Gath moves forward, and Nautilus hooks the Cho'Gath, uses his combo on the Cho'Gath, and it's just not what they need from the side of THCE. It left the Graves actually only really having to contend with damage and not CC, meaning he was able to output a huge amount of damage, and the appeal from Lulu was more than enough to keep him alive. IG in the general played that fight really well, and a couple of very small mistakes from THCE really costing them very dearly.
Taking blue here.
I think we're going to narrowly miss Aiden 10 there.
Here we have Vorpa just being the big boy tank for his team here. Just staying in the front, trying to take as much damage as he can while trying to mitigate all that damage for their carries. A lot happening top side there just for a blue buff. Baron's coming up too.
We've seen that happen a few times. The side of IG are being so incredibly aggressive in trying to invade with Graves into the opposing team's jungle that every time the Graves is counter-jungling, it almost turns into a team fight of its own right.
Just for some buffs or a grump.
Lands onto Rip Gang. Pacific now looking forward onto Gang. He does have support. Ultimate going to come through from Sion, who will be juked away from by the Graves and that Lantern. Rip Gang now looking for Crossfire. Crossfire looking pretty squishy right now. Might be brought down by Rip Gang, but instead he turns his attention to Vorpa, healing for White Rice, who's brought lower by that Caitlyn. Kick going to go forward. Lulu Ultimate going to keep him alive though. Shockwave brings Lulu back. Lulu could be in trouble here as a kill comes down. White Rice snipes her away with that Ultimate, but Graves on the front line. Graves a double kill with a triple kill, taking down the whole team almost by himself. Lee Sin picks up that revenge onto the Graves, gets that shutdown for himself, and now Vorpa can try and peel for Bubba T. Crossfire looking to land a hook if possible, and looks like we're going to disengage for the time being. Surprisingly turned against THCE very quickly, just because Graves was able to almost stand under tower, frontline all of them, and kill 2 members.
That's just how far Graves has come right now against the Lee Sin. He's able to just absolutely melt 2 of the...
Decisive this time, but maybe a tad too late. We spoke about there's a ticking time bomb in that top lane in the sense of Vorpa, and Lee Sin gets absolutely devoured.
Just chomped right there and then. Tries to get that Q off as a Lee Sin, but can't say anything to a lot of true damage with a very healthy Cho'Gath. Very beefy boy who will just straight up chomp the carries if he can as well. So, but yes, you're right. I thought THC were looking very good in that at the beginning of the fight, and then things just turned around. Graves came around, was just no thank you. I'll take all these kills today, and just turned it around for IG.
It's worth mentioning. In this first game, I think it was THCE that brought down the Northmen, the hosts, the owners of this tournament, who are arguably the favourites alongside IG coming into the tournament. Very high elo players in comparison to the rest. And they brought them down. The Giant Slayers that are THCE, backed by the Republic of China. Something like that. So
we'll go with that.
This game hasn't gone to plan, but I think there's a lot more to be expected. We've seen some glimmers of hope here, some very close fights that could have gone either way, had a couple of things gone differently, so I wouldn't give up just yet, but this game looking pretty difficult. 3 Drakes down, 6,000 gold down, and not a lot of gold on that Orianna, so not ideal circumstances for them.
We need to see Ripkang trying to get these picks quicker, maybe. Obviously, if they have summoners up, it's a bit harder, like Lulu now still has
Actually,
a flash of
Sion. Come through here, it just gets juked away from the support from THC left alone, but he is taking out 2 members of IG, and now the Lulu gets brought down, won't be able to buff up that Graves or that Caitlyn. Pacific now trying to get away. The Gale Force for both parties doing him a good service and keeping them alive. Orianna though, hooked, brought down, chopped by Vorpa. Double kill for him as he continues forward, looking to get the knock up onto White Rice, but he retreats too. They're looking for Bubba T here. You can see Q lands, but surely he doesn't have the damage. Surely he gets brought down and does. Bubba T takes him down. With the help of Cho'Gath, the red buff burn not going to be enough to finish her off. Now Sion meeting Crossfire, and it's a bit of a chase here. Sion.
Nothing you can do to get that Sion, but as well, nothing you can do. Oh, Soul going over to IG. Oh, Cloud Soul. A lot of ultimate
probably
cooldowns.
Dead here. Used Flash to avoid the Cho'Gath Q, and going to make him a sitting duck for the Thresh. Avoids the Q, but I don't think it's going to matter as Vorpa can tank about 7,000 turret shots before even feeling a thing. So,
just tank gameplay right there. Being able to kill the AD carry like it's nothing.
Actually, Sion could be in trouble as well now. Hook landing. Vorpa is there. He does have the chomp available. Brings him down. Legendary now. 10, 3, and 5 on the Cho'Gath with a 25 stacks Medjai's Soul Stealer. He's a beefy boy.
I guess that the no items at the beginning did pay off, I see.
Maybe. I thought he got 2 ruby crystals. He didn't buy a Doran's item. So maybe
there you go.
Who knows? Darren now going to fall quite quickly to IG.
IG looking very strong in this game. 9 kills to 23 to IG. I'm saying it's most likely in IG's favor. But
yeah, I think we're going to hedge our hopes on THCE for the next game as opposed to this one. You'll get him next time, boys. Don't you worry. There's Rip Gang now. Going to be flayed back with Polymorph, stunned with the Q, and sniped with the Caitlyn. Pacific, though, not going to get that over to his AD carry. He wants to kill, and he takes it. very aggressively.
Yeah,
As
do
you
against
could see,
polymorph.
IG could look for the end here. 4 versus 5, yes, but they're so far ahead, and with this Baron, with that cannon wave, with that turret falling so easily, they pose a real threat to the side of THCE.